Thank you. Okay, that's full tank. So yes, today we have finally got the Interceptor 650 from Royal Enfield for a really long test ride. That's so nice of Royal Enfield. See, there are certain brands in India like Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, KTM. Their showrooms are of absolute class, and their mindset is purely professional. The reason why I'm saying this is, if you're going to buy a motorcycle from Hero, TVS, Yamaha or Suzuki, at worst cases your new vehicle has already been test driven, because these guys do not hesitate to give the showroom vehicle for test drives. But when it comes to Royal Enfield, KTM and Kawasaki, they don't do that at all. They have dedicated test drive vehicles for all the new models which is released, and they give only that to you. So the first and foremost thing which makes this bike entirely different from other Royal Enfield motorcycle is this chassis. This chassis is probably the best which Royal Enfield has made so far in their entire lifetime. Obviously, I have not driven the Royal Enfield vehicles which were made in the 1960s or 1970s, but I have driven all other vehicles of them: the Classic, the Bullet, the Himalayan and the Thunderbird. I know how their vehicles feel. This is the only vehicle which you can probably corner, or at least think of cornering, in a Royal Enfield. It's all because of this chassis. What a brilliant design from Harris Performance. This one part in this entire bike typically differentiates this from every other Royal Enfield bike which is there in the market. What a brilliant chassis. The second best thing of this motorcycle is the engine itself. What an amazing engine. This engine is like supremely refined, that it doesn't vibrate at all. It just pulls and pulls and pulls, man. The throttle response is just so great in this bike, and this is not even ride by wire. Just look at this. Just look at that. What a fun vehicle, man. What a fun vehicle. Another thing which I love about this motorcycle is the gearbox. I understand that this bike has a slipper clutch, and that definitely benefits when you're downshifting and also when you're trying to shift the gears. But the gearbox is like super slick. At highways, at high speeds, when you're changing the gear, you would not even feel it. You would never hear the click of the motorcycle. It's that good. And talking about the brakes, this is by far the best brakes provided by Royal Enfield. And to be precise, I think this is the same unit which the KTM Dukes have, minus the sintered pads, I believe. And by Duke I mean the 250 and the 390, not the other Dukes. They could have designed a slightly better brake, but that's okay. The power of this vehicle doesn't demand that anyway. And coming to the touring aspect of this vehicle, 24-degree rake angle of this motorcycle really stands between the sports and the comfortable riding style. I was thinking that this motorcycle is going to be like too comfortable, like every other Royal Enfield, but this is not. This is in between your Duke and other Royal Enfield motorcycles. That's how the handlebars are placed. The cruising speed of this bike is easily at 110 kilometers, and if you want to go beyond that, you can obviously go, but the problem is with the wind blast. See, this is a naked motorcycle which doesn't have any kind of fairing in the front, so beyond 110 kilometers the wind blast is just too much. You cannot drive beyond that. I'm not sure about the top speed of this motorcycle, but I reckon it's somewhere close to 160 kilometers per hour. And coming to the suspension, the front suspension is on the softer side and the rear suspension is a bit hard, but that's definitely manageable. It will only be a problem if you are trying to do high speed corners where the front will just wobble and your back will just stay in place. Anyway, that's not much of a problem because this bike is definitely not meant to corner at high speeds, but a fun loving highway motorcycle. I have no issues with this suspension. I'm just okay with this suspension because this is the kind of suspension you need for your everyday ride in Indian roads. Just look at our roads, man. Do you call these roads? I don't know. You need a Royal Enfield to drive in such roads. And speaking about ground clearance, this bike doesn't have any issue with ground clearance so far from what I have tested. I think it's 171 millimeters of ground clearance, which is not really that bad for a motorcycle. And the rear suspension is also quite stiff, so if you have a pillion and have the right preload setting in your suspension, it will not be a problem at all in bad roads. Let me stop this vehicle somewhere to show you how it looks. I couldn't sit in these seats for a really long time. These seats are like super slim, and I'm not used to such seats. Even my Duke, it does have a broader rider seat. I'm just not used to these seats, and I couldn't drive after 50-60 kilometers. They could have done something about these seats, because Royal Enfield usually have seats which can accommodate a bigger person, but unfortunately in this they don't have that setup, because they have designed this by keeping the cafe racer in the mind. So yeah, so this is something which you have to live with. So I think this is the first con in this motorcycle. I love the looks of this motorcycle from the side and also from the rear. I mean, like, if you do not have these things, I think it will look really, really nice. I especially love this dual rear suspension setup and the dual exhaust barrel system. Looks really cool from the rear and also from the sides. Though chrome is not something which I really like, both in cars and also in motorcycles. The chrome finish in this looks really good, but I really love the Baker Express color scheme from the Interceptor 650. That looks really cool for my liking, because it kind of gets a black alloy treatment to it and a white and red combination and less chrome basically. I love that. I love that color. If I would probably want to take, I'll take that color. And I've heard from Royal Enfield that these things are hand brushed. This is aluminium and these things are all hand brushed. This alloy and the spokes are also aluminium. That's what I heard from Royal Enfield. And coming to the front, I don't really like the looks of it. I mean, yeah, it can closely resemble to the 1965 Interceptor version, but I'm just not a fan of the 1965 design, It really spoils the look of a performance motorcycle, which this vehicle is. Anyway, apart from that, the looks of this vehicle, I love it. It's purely retro, it's purely vintage. I really love the startup of this motorcycle. Just look at this. Yes, I miss these in the new vehicles, man. Wow, just hear the exhaust. I love the looks of this exhaust. I love the sound of it. It is just bassier, it's just throatier, and exactly to my liking. I just love it. And the second con which I have for this bike is the weight of this motorcycle. See, when you are driving really in bad roads, right, the weight of this motorcycle is not really allowing you to glide through the potholes. It kind of, hesitates to move. This bike is like quite flickable in the traffic. The only thing which it doesn't glide through are bad roads at high speeds. So apart from that, the weight is not really a problem for me. And the other thing which I would not really call as a con, but I would tell that this does not feel like a 650. I know that the engine cc is 650, it's called the Interceptor 650 or the Continental 650, but this does not feel like a 650. And by 650 I don't mean the race spec 650 like the Ninja ZX6R or the Daytona 675R. Well, that's not the expectation, but it doesn't even feel like the other 650s, like the Z650, the Ninja 650 or the Versus. So it definitely doesn't have the power of that. And to me it feels like a 400cc motorcycle with a twin cylinder engine on it. That's how it feels for me. And everything else in this motorcycle also gels with that philosophy. You see, this vehicle is not at all aggressive in the city. Like if you are beyond 5000 rpm, that's when the real power comes in. So below that, I think from 2000 to 5000 rpm or 2000 to 4500 rpm, the motorcycle is like really easy and beginner friendly to drive. And in the range of 1000 to 2000 rpm, the vehicle is like so comfortable that you will feel super relaxed. See, post 4000 is the real pull of this vehicle. So below that it doesn't really pull that much. It's kind of beginner friendly and it's easy on the throttle. So yeah, this will not scare you like a 650, and this is definitely a beginner friendly motorcycle. The horn is loud as well, like every other Royal Enfield, but I don't think it's as loud as a classic horn, but still the horn is quite loud. That's really good for our Indian roads because we have a lot of deaf people. And regarding mileage, I have driven like almost 100 to 150 kilometers, but there is literally no change in the fuel meter. So I'm not really sure if the fuel meter works or if this bike is giving an extraordinary mileage. But from what I have heard from the Royal Enfield showroom people, they were saying that this bike gives a solid mileage of 25 kilometers per liter. Yeah, 25 kilometers per liter for such a performance, it isn't really bad. In fact, this is one of the best performance motorcycles which has the best mileage figure. So mileage is not really a problem. So who can buy this motorcycle? See, if you are looking for a 300 to 400cc motorcycle which has a twin cylinder, which is easy on your pockets and does almost everything, then this bike is for you. And one more thing which I forgot to mention is the heat in this motorcycle. See, from time to time when you are driving this in the chock-a-block traffic, you will feel there's a bit of heat coming from the engine, but that's like negligible. It won't burn your legs at all, so nothing to worry on that front. You can see that today is like really hot and I'm driving in the noon time, so I think this is the right time to test this vehicle on the heating aspect. So heating is something which you don't need to worry about this vehicle at all. You see, I never liked Royal Enfield motorcycles all my life. I have driven all their vehicles and I do not like even one bike from them, because to me, if I take all the motorcycle things which I have in my mind, then Royal Enfield is definitely not the brand which I would consider to buy any time. I have only seen Royal Enfield as a lifestyle product. That's how I look at Royal Enfield. But this bike has definitely changed the mindset of me towards this company. What a performing motorcycle, which is so unlike of Royal Enfield. And all credits goes to Harris Performance and the engineers who have designed this engine. What a great motorcycle.